yesterday when I worked on it, I'm like,
Hello.
I like more
My
than when I
camera's
delivered
still
it
live.
originally, and I'm like, and it's all running 20 minutes, so like, done.
There you go.
Our
Don't need the
camera's
other
live,
part.
just so you know.
Sure, what?
Our camera's live.
Oh, they can hear you.
Okay. Reading what for the second. It's cool. And then we're going to lunch? Yeah. Yeah. Mark and I were talking yesterday about the retreat, and suddenly we kind of thought, wait a minute, how's this going to work? So we need to talk about it.
I emailed Scott yesterday,
Okay.
and he's not got back.
Okay.
I don't know how much we're trying to figure out. It concerns me.
Well, that was part of it. So we'll talk about it. I think the primary thing is I asked this question months ago. I said, well, is it going to be open to everybody? And we said, yes. But now I'm realizing it's really supposed to be about us, our direction. You really need to have it been around. So I'm not sure if the afternoon thing should be open. And that was our big thing that stumped us first. I mean, theoretically, you can have like 20 people from Open Circle show up, and if everybody can vote, I mean, we do clear bylaws.
No,
Say the voting, but
There's not clear membership.
yeah. So there's that, and it's not too late. But if the Open Circle people are not at the meeting, then I do not feel comfortable asking them.
Sure.
Because we should talk about things
Great to see you.
Oh, we've been back there.
Actually, there's three conditions that one actually. Make sure that.
I'm not sure why we came back.
The next one is remember 1 year I came up there, and you were hot. I thought, what's up with this? And I think a lot of you our congregation, they do every year with the HDB open. Yeah, yeah, Karen Sandberg.
Yeah.
Originally, I asked Scott if he was a new job, and all these Saturdays I could just stay.
Well,
He just fine. So he didn't get up like that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
On the winter coat.
And then I let me know.
Yeah.
Would you mind standing here to make sure I'm not cutting your head off? I need to know how tall you are. Thank you, mister.
Well, I like that this is the real fire. So I can read.
Oh, perfect. I'm not cutting your head off.
So can you hear me? Can you hear me if I just stand like this? Because I don't want to really go like this. So is that okay? Can you all hear me out there? They're not paying any attention, so that's probably. See, it's hard. You can't hear me.
I can hear you.
I don't want to go like this.
No, you don't need to.
Okay.
Please don't.
Okay.
Yeah, because then it makes you look icky.
I can wear the thing.
No, not with the mask. The mask.
No, I'm going to take it off.
I know, but still, no, use that. Use that.
All right.
I don't think so. His voice, he has a singer's voice. His voice carries anyway, and so it'll be.
We're good. We got the.
Well, I don't know if I'm an expert, but
But you
I
can-
have opinions.
You forget I'm a feeble first tenor voice.
feeble first.
Yeah, it doesn't boom. I'm not a bass.
Okay, but that doesn't matter. Just breathe. Just breathe before each sentence. You know, you'll be fine.
Yes, breathing is important. I'll try to remember that, Cindy.
It's the air that goes over the vocal cords.
Yeah, fine. Hi, Mark. Good morning.
Hi, Jim.
How are you?
See you again.
Good to see you. Cool.
Yeah, well, it's kind of rusty. Kind of rusty.
But you're all set to like go out afterwards
Yep.
and nail all this down?
Yep.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
So I had a couple, just some thoughts I wanted to share with you about how we relate Unison to this group here.
Oh, that's good too.
But other than that, we can talk about retreat issues, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
It's still
after
kind of
lunch,
bright,
we've got
whatever.
All the major stuff figured out.
Yeah,
So that is.
okay.
Why are you carrying the mic?
I am the mic guy today.
You're the mic?
Yep.
So do I call you Mike?
23 is the mic.
And don't forget, they don't hold, they don't touch.
I know.
What were the audience doing a flash mob?
Don't you dare touch this microphone.
I didn't know if now they have a designated heckler for every Sunday morning.
Well, we weren't going to tell you that part.
It's a paid.
Yeah. Exactly. I've just spent all week looking at Don Rickles videos.
Oh, great.
Well, good. Good to see you here today.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm a long drive, but I always
Yeah.
like it when I get here.
Yeah. Yeah, the one with the subway in it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always a stopping point for me.
That's my stopping.
Yeah. And it's nice because they got a side door. You can just go to the restroom, get back in the car and not buy anything.
Is that one of the fancy ones?
It's going to be.
Yeah, it's Sturgeon Bay. We got a quick Sturgeon Bay.
Got one set up for Sturgeon Bay.
Cool. You guys are remembering you're on the hot camera
On a hot camera.
Yeah, everything, and Mike too.
or hot mic.
I have got it.
You guys are behaving, right?
No, I just was talking about how we stop and rest.
So maybe somebody online has an idea.
Right, we're starting getting text
We
messages.
can take a poll. Can you put out a poll, Sarah? See if anybody's got
Yeah, that was.
All right.
I miss my parents, so I'm always Jacksonville around. Where was in the day? I was looking.
It is. You didn't just-
Well, no, I got.
Right. That is my.
There was a significance. Yes, with the green ribbon man, I forgot. Yes, I think well, okay, this one's the book. This side. Oh, thank you.
They really thought about
Morning, how are you?
Still meeting.
Well, that's said, but it's common.
If you're interested in the poetry of my songs, the poetry, if you want to do should I announce before we get in the poetry? Or should I just
Unfortunately.
I wonder if those baskets have influence all of No, we don't have.
and
Wow. Thank you, Cindy and Colin. We are very, very fortunate to have that. Good morning. And welcome. I'm Jim Black. I'll be the service leader today. And if you could, please take a moment, make sure your cell phones and other noise-making devices are turned off. It's our custom to invite any visitors or people who haven't been here in a while to stand and introduce themselves and say where they're from, if they so choose. Okay. Oh, they've got one right here.
Yeah, I haven't been here since November. So it's so wonderful to be back, to see all of you again. It was a long, resting trip, I guess. I think I maybe saw you when I was in the hospital. I'm not sure. I couldn't remember.
Maybe.
Yeah, so, I had a bacterial infection, and that lasted for a long time. And then because I was stopped from driving erratically because I had the infection, they took away my driver's license. But I got it back Thursday. So.
Okay. All right.
I'm waiting to come back. Okay, nice to see you all again.
Welcome back with the freedom. Great. Anyone else? Okay. If you have problems, we're just not using the remote mic tonight, today. So if you have a problem hearing me, just raise a hand or throw something. Today's speaker is Reverend Jim Coakley. He is well known and well liked by our congregation, and he is somewhat of a circuit rider, as he's riding the circuit between Stevens Point, Fond du Lac, and Green Bay congregations, and ministering to all of them. So we're fortunate to have Jim as the fifth Sunday speaker when there are those fifth Sundays in a month. Okay. And on the back of the order of service, there are announcements. And does anybody have any additions or embellishments on those announcements? Mark will come around with the mic, and because of some precautions, we're not going to, Mark will hold the mic through the whole time. So. We've got one back here. And if you could identify yourself for those virtually.
I'm Tom Schroeder, and hello all you out there in UU land. And as we have in this quarter, we're donating to the food pantries of Door County. And I'd like to donate 10 pounds. You know, some of you know I raise cows, beef cattle. I'd like to donate 10 pounds of ground beef. Now, my problem is if I just give them 10 pounds of ground beef, it's going to turn to mush at some point. So I'm hoping that I'd be able to sell it for $5 a pound to anybody who would like it here in the fellowship. And let's see where it goes. I'll take that money and then I'll donate it to the food pantry.
So, good. And Helene, has a question, I think. Okay. Up with that announcement, Judy?
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to suggest that everyone look in the Pulse. I think many of you know Indivisible has started an ad campaign once a month, and we're trying to celebrate the good news, and we're trying to talk about what's right and what's going in the right direction. And so the idea is that words matter, and we've got the ads, but you got to find them. They're usually in the business section. They're not in the ad section. And so let's hope we can just begin thinking positively about what's going on in our country. Thank you.
So Judy Broad, thank you. And those are words that we should repeat in our gatherings, things? Positive stuff of going on, huh? Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else?
Yes, I think I will.
Oh, Helene.
I know we can't do anything political, so I have some information about the upcoming school board campaign, and if anybody wants to know what my information is, just see me later.
Well, the school board is nonpartisan. You can say anything you want about the school board. We just can't back a candidate.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank
You
you.
could mention per people.
Be my guest. I mean,
No, I mean,
we have freedom of speech here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I know there are two people that are running, and I have heard from a teacher at Gibraltar that these two people are the ban the books and against critical race theory. So if you want to know their names, I'll tell you, but I don't want to announce it here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. That's important to know. Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else? Did you see a hand back there? No. Okay. All right. The opening words, Jim shared these with me by Reverend Marie Alfred Harkey, and I certainly hope I do them justice because it's a wonderful opening. This is a blessing for people who love certainty and can't find any, for people who crave order and are living in our disordered world, for people who want to know what's next and have absolutely no idea. This blessing doesn't ask you to figure it all out. It doesn't ask you to pretend to be fine. It doesn't ask you to drop your grimace, it doesn't, or your grimacing, gripping, I will get through this face. This blessing invites you to relax into the universe, to admit that you can't control, well, damn near anything. To find your people, the ones who can bear the truth, to find your animals, your plants, and your poetry. This blessing is for now, the in-between. The blessing is for you. You are enough. Even when you feel you are failing. By the way, you're not. You are absolutely killing it at being a human being. It is for your wild, beautiful authenticity. You do not have to do one damn thing to earn it. That is not how blessings work. The blessing is pure grace, a reminder that you are created out of stardust and love. I have to steal the light here. It's a good thing that's a real. The flame of our chalice this morning is a symbol of the warmth and brightness of our connection. Please stand in spirit or body to recite the Unison Affirmation. We gather together to seek knowledge and wisdom, to explore freely the vast reaches of mind and spirit, to celebrate within a caring community those truths, ancient and modern, which give meaning and direction to our lives. And hum with gusto the doxology. At this time in our service, we offer the opportunity to share with each other a joy we might have, a concern that we might want to lessen our burden. And again, Mark will come around with the mic and hold it. Does anybody have a joy or a concern? And if you could identify yourself.
Hi, this is Pam Good. I know that a number of you knew the Witten Kellers, Judy and Al, and Judy died Tuesday night in her sleep at home.
Yeah. I was having a tough time with that. Anybody else? And do recall that this is being fed into the internet and recorded, so. Okay. We're not going to be passed around the offertory plate, but the fellowship still does need your money. And in the foyer, there are 2 plates to receive donations, or you can go online and hit the donation button. Now, to prepare ourselves for Jim's presentation, a moment of silence.
All right, so we have to get used to this microphone. I think I can hear myself, so you must be able to hear me out there as well. Okay. If for some reason I tend to move and you can't hear, just wave. But first of all, I want to say I'm really happy to be here. I love coming up here. It's beautiful. You're beautiful people. You have a beautiful sanctuary. And when I had the option to just stay at home and do this from my office, I'm like, no, I don't think so. So I always look forward to driving up here. Also, I should say that there's a reading that comes before my message that I neglected to get into your order of service. And it's rather lengthy, so I'm sorry that I didn't leave it there, but just relax, we'll have that first. So the reading it's called The Heart's Intention, and it's by Philip Moffat. And maybe you've heard of Philip Moffat. He was actually rather famous back in the 80s, 90s, probably still is famous. But this comes from a website called dharmawisdom.org. So to give some street cred to who Philip Moffat is and why we should listen to his words today, I lifted from the website a bit of his biography, and I think it's important that you hear that first. So I quote, "On the very last day of 1986, soon after my 40th birthday, I did something that many people have since told me they long to do. I completely abandoned my professional identity with all its security and privileges in order to devote myself to finding more joy and meaning in my life. It was a good life that I left. Some would even say a great one. I was editor-in-chief and chief executive of Esquire magazine, having bought it with some colleagues when it had fallen on hard times and slowly nourished it back to financial health and prominence. I liked what I did, was reasonably good at it, and as both creative and operational leader, I got to do things my way, a rare situation. Through the articles I published and the monthly column I wrote in the magazine, I had a voice in the national debate around social issues relevant to my generation. And as a business leader, I got an adrenaline charge from being the underdog, competing against much larger media companies and finding creative ways to hold my own. Although I felt very fortunate to have these experiences, they did not ultimately provide me with a deep sense of purpose. Whenever I imagined spending the rest of my life continuing on the same path toward worldly success, a strong feeling of disappointment in myself arose. So to the astonishment of the people in the New York publishing community, I gave up all that I had accomplished in order to dedicate myself fully to exploring the inner life and to understanding the mystery of this human existence with all its joyous possibility and its endless suffering. As I embarked on my new life, the teachings and I have to pause for these pronunciations. The teachings and vipassana meditation practices of Theravada Buddhist lineage became my primary focus. So here's actually the reading. The Heart's Intentions, and it's a subtitled Goals versus Intentions. Setting intention, at least according to Buddhist teachings, is quite different than goal making. It's not oriented towards a future outcome. Instead, it is a path or practice that focused on how you are being in the present moment. Your attention is on the ever-present now in the constantly changing flow of life. You set your intentions based on understanding what matters most to you and make a commitment to align your worldly actions with your inner values. Goals help make your place in the world and be an effective person. But being grounded in intention is what provides integrity and unity in your life. Through the skillful cultivation of intention, you learn to make wise goals and then to work hard towards achieving them without getting caught in attachment to outcome. Only by remembering your intentions can you reconnect with yourself during those emotional storms that cause you to lose touch with yourself. This remembering is a blessing because it provides a sense of meaning in your life that is independent of whether you achieve certain goals or not. Ironically, by being in touch with and acting from your true intentions, you become more effective in reaching your goals than when you act from wants and insecurities. So I love this article, and I found it because in my 3 congregations, we go on monthly themes, and this month's theme was living with intention. And it's one of these things that you kind of say, well, of course, why wouldn't I want to live with intention? But when you start thinking about it, you start going, well, what exactly does that mean? For example, I do a lot of meditation, not a lot, I do some meditation, and the leader often, I have a goal to have more meditation in my life. The leader often says, well, set an intention for your practice today. And immediately I set a goal. So it caused me to really think about what does this mean. Well, I did 2 sermons on this topic this month, and I ended up, because of the schedule, bookending them. And this was actually you're getting part of the first sermon in the beginning of the month. And after I delivered it, it turned out there was a very robust discussion, but a lot of people didn't get past square one. They were just confounded between the difference between intentions and goals and kind of got stuck on that. Now, in my congregations, I also function as the DRE, the Director of Religious Exploration for the children, and prepare all the units for them. And I found an example in the children's materials under the title, their lesson was, It Takes Passion to Live with Intention. We've integrated the children's program with the adult program. And this example, I think, nailed it for me, and I hope it helps with you. So think about a car. Think about a car, if you could design it yourself any way you wanted to design it, and somehow the intentions, the values and beliefs that you really hold yourself up to in life or want to are designed into this car. Now, I don't know if that's the size of the car, if how it runs on electric versus fuel, if it's a luxury van, whatever, and that's not important. Don't get caught up in those details and go off somewhere on me. Just assume that you could design a car that represented your intentions, your goals and values in life. So that car represents how you drive down the road. The paths in life that you go down. The ideal is that you're in this car with your intentions and you're driving down through life. The goals are just the little side trips that you make. And the lesson for the kids that day was all about passions, helping the children identify what they're passionate about in life. For example, are they impassioned about saving the earth and trying to find more sustainable ways to live? Or are they impassioned about a colleague in school or something being treated unfairly and wanted to do something about that? So the passions help you drive the car. It helps you steer it. It's the steering wheel. You go left, you go right, you go forward, you go back to help pick the path that is those goals. So I hope that helps you figure that out. Intentions, the car, the goals are the short-term kind of things, and passions kind of lead you in the direction. Well, I found Moffat's reading, and it's just a short article, frankly, on the website, so interesting. And he is so good at the way he talks that I will, in full disclosure, a lot of what I have to share with you today are quotes right from the article, and then I go off and share some examples rather than trying to paraphrase what he already said. So you kind of got the gist of what he wanted to talk about right in that reading. And I thought, okay, end of sermon. But then he goes on and has 4 key points that I also found very fascinating that I wanted to share with you. So the first one, he says, is called Doing the Groundwork, which makes sense. Lay the foundation. It's really understanding your intentions and then the illusions of goals and understanding the difference there. So he starts with this quote: what would it be like if you didn't measure the success of your life just by what you get and don't get, but gave equal or greater priority to how aligned you are with your deepest values? So saying it again, what if you measured your life not by just what you get, like that extra house, the extra car, the whatever I saved up for retirement, I had 4 kids that I raised well, that kind of stuff. And then say, well, wait a minute, I step back and say, now that I look at my life, how well am I living it based on my true intentions, my true values and goals? And I thought this was a great sermon for right after New Year's Day. It was January 2nd, because our pop culture goals are very much rooted in Moffat's term was Maya or illusion. The illusionary world where what you want seems fixed and unchanging, but the truth is it's forever changing. It's a world, it's in that world of Mara, he says, the inner voice of temptation and discouragement that just flourishes. Goals not aligned with your intentions never fulfill you in an ongoing way. They either beget another goal or else collapse entirely. Now, of course, they do provide a lot of excitement in the ups and downs of this life, but intention is what provides you with self-respect and peace of mind. So those are Moffat's words, and I tried to encapsulate that into an example from myself, so bear with me, it's a little trivial. But it's this time of year, November, December, January, where my Facebook feed and my news feed and all my feeds, I actually kind of get a chuckle out of the fact that they're reading everything I do and then send me ads. Because in my corporate life, I was a marketer, so I find that kind of intriguing. And sometimes I send fake emails to see if I'll get fake ads. I know I'm kind of crazy. So it's that time of year where they can tell I'm talking about, oh, I need to lose weight, oh, I need to get fit. And I start getting those ads for all the expensive workout wear. And my first inclination, and this has been going on since I was a teenager, I look at it and say, you know, if I just bought that pair of Lululemon pants or that Nike shirt or those shoes, I would have that body instantly. I know it. This is the year. Well, fortunately, I'm not that naive. I'm too frugal. I don't buy that stuff. People give it to me. Because maybe they're trying to send me a message. But what it does do is it gnaws away at me and just says, you know, if you only got there 5 times a week, or you only found the right personal trainer, or, you know, only if, then I could achieve this kind of level of fitness that we all know is unattainable. But at that moment, I think it's a really good idea. So after I read this, I thought, you know what, that goal is clearly placed in my insecurities about body image and how strong I'm not anymore. And I thought, well, what is my intention? And so it's pretty clear. I've spent a lot of the last 2 decades becoming a minister and serving other people. And I said, well, what does that have to do with fitness? Well, it's frankly, you know, as I age, and I can look around the room and assume you can relate to this, everything begins to sort of fall apart if you don't take care of it. And so I'm realizing that my intention is to be a minister and to serve as long as I can, both mentally, spiritually, and physically. And if you're running a program with teens and children, you better be physically able to kind of keep up with them, right? So my intention was to just be able to continue on in the work that I do and serve others. So that completely changed how I thought about the goal. I go to the why now, paying attention to my body and saying, what do you need today? Maybe it's what I've dubbed the sauna workout, where you just sweat in the sauna and go take a shower and go home because your body just needed to rest or something like that, as opposed to hitting the weights and watching the 30-year-old next to me really, you know, cranking, and then I try it and then I injure myself, right? So I know it's a frivolous example, but to me that helped me understand really this goal versus intention and whether I'm living my intentions well. So doing the groundwork is number 1. Number 2, he kind of shares and by the way, you get an extra benefit if you live with intention. So he says, if you're grounded in good intentions, you respond differently when provoked. I thought, well, that's fascinating. So he gives an example of somebody, and I know in the last 5-6 years, it'll be hard for you to imagine this, but you're around somebody who's being rude or domineering. they're unpleasant, or at least your experience of them is unpleasant. So Moffat says, what do you notice? Do you see his insecurity and how desperately hungry he is for control and attention? It's interesting that he chose male pronouns for this. Or do you notice only your own needs and dislike and take his behavior personally, even though it really has little to do with you? He says, if you're grounded in your intentions, then your response will be to notice his discomfort and your own suffering and feel compassion toward both of you. It doesn't mean that you don't feel irritation or that you allow him to push you around, but you avoid getting lost in judgment or personal reaction. And then he adds this, which I found very profound. Can you feel the extra emotional space such an orientation in life provides? So I don't know about you, but when I get in those situations, I very much feel like I'm backed into a corner. Like I might not agree, they're irritating me, and so I have to make this decision. Am I going to say something, do something, or am I going to cower and pretend it's not happening? And so it just is very emotionally draining for me. And he's saying that basically if you approach it with different intentions and kind of step back and understand that it's a world of suffering and we just manifest that in different ways, it opens up an extra emotional space with this kind of an orientation. And then he says, do you see the greater range of options for interpreting the difficulties in your life? I thought that was worth thinking. Number 3 is a little bit out there. He called it sowing karmic seeds, the ripple effect. Basically, it's the you reap what you sow kind of thing. But in Buddhist tradition, he talks about it in terms of karma affecting he says that the karmic seeds may bloom in one of 3 times: immediately, later in life, or in a future life. So he's also saying what is happening to you in each moment is the results of seeds planted in a past life, earlier in this life or in a previous moment. So then he goes on to say, okay, you might not believe in past lives, and that's okay, but you need to kind of recognize that what it's true, whatever has been sown in the past will probably come back to haunt you again, and whatever you sow now will probably hit you again in the future. But then he says there's a thought to reflect on that's seldom mentioned here. Whatever is manifesting itself in your life right now is affected by how you receive it. And how you receive it is largely determined by your intention at the moment. So he's basically saying you have some agency here. And so you can choose to live by your intentions and not send out those bad karma seeds for the future. So I thought of another example. A New Year's resolution that maybe some of us have is to control your anger and frustration with certain people in certain circumstances, right? And I have a habit of losing people that just get on my nerves, and I can only take it so much. And I typically would try to function, and I'm a minister after all, that's unbecoming behavior. So it's the bite your tongue approach. Hold back on the negative comments and the anger. And then, unfortunately, I believe it kind of eats me alive, because for the rest of the day, I'll just stew on it. Like, why did I do that? Why does this happen? And then it turns into self-righteousness because, I was provoked, and wasn't I so good that I stopped myself from reacting there? So the goal is not grounded in good intentions per se, but negative emotions. It's all about me trying to control, trying to hold in this unreleased tension, kind of the pain of biting one's tongue. And Moffat would say, when you're grounded in intention, you're never helpless in how you react to an event in life. Well, it's true that you can't control what happens to you. With mindfulness of intention, you can mitigate the effects of what occurs in terms of both the moment itself and what kind of karmic seed you plant for the future. So in my example, the alternative would be, what if I went into this instead of saying, I'm not going to react when I get up against this person. I'm going to have an intention to hold everyone and everything in the best possible light and remember that nothing is permanent. And so if you approach it with that in mind, You may not let the same circumstances anger you in the first place. You refrain from planting that bad karma because you're viewing the situation aligned with your intentions. My tongue isn't in pain, for example, and I don't have that unreleased tension that's just swirling around in me for the rest of the day. Finally, his fourth point, he called it developing resolve. And as I was working this, it was though between Christmas and New Year's week, and I'm like, finally, resolve, New Year's resolution. I kind of tie this all back together. And he says, Buddhist teachings suggest that there are certain characteristics, and those of you that are practicing Buddhist probably already know this, that there are certain characteristics you must develop before you can ever achieve liberation. And one of these qualities is right resolve. And it has to do with developing the will to live by your intentions. So this isn't an easy one. He says, through practicing right resolve, you learn to set your mind to maintaining your values and priorities and to resist the temptation to sacrifice your values for material or ego gain. You gain the ability to constantly hold your intentions no matter what arises. And then he goes on, and this just hit me because this is totally me. He says, at times, the benefit of acting from your intentions can seem so clear and obvious that you vow, I'm going to live this way from now on. So now I set a goal again, right? And you get lost and overwhelmed and conclude that it's more than you can do. And he says, such emotional reactions, while understandable, missed the point completely. Do not make this a goal. If you make right intentions a goal, you are grasping at spiritual materialism, he called it. So it's materialism, but I'm just kind of, in me, it went kind of the same way as the self-righteousness. Sort of, I'm more spiritual than thou because I can, hold my intentions all the time. He said, right intention is simply about coming home to yourself. It is a practice of aligning with the deepest part of yourself while surrendering to the reality that you often get lost in your own wanting mind. That's why I love that opening reading. It's like when you think you're not doing right, by the way, you're killing it at being human. And that's the most we can hope for sometimes. So back to my car example. Right intentions means staying in the car, putting your seatbelt on and staying buckled in the car. Sometimes your passions may misdirect you and you get lost. By the way, I have a history of arguing with Siri that she doesn't know the directions on my phone. That doesn't usually turn out well. But if you ground yourself and you are firmly seated in your car, you will find your way. So what's the takeaway with all of this? I think Unitarian Universalists are uniquely called to live with intention. By contrast to other faiths, and I know I'm painting with a broad brushstroke here, and these are the kind of faiths that get a lot of press coverage, it seems to be very outwardly focused about number of converts. There's a big mega church in Appleton that they publicized that they want 10% of the population, right? They have 10,000 people in their congregation already. Or they built monuments to themselves. Many of the ancient churches did that. Ensuring society is confined to their narrow constraints. So it's trying to influence society to believe the way they believe, right? Whereas we, living with intention, means inwardly focused. I think this is an area where we look inwardly. I mean, we're designed for that because it's all about the journey that we're on, right? And so we if we're inwardly focused and just let these ripples of karma flow out uncontrolled. So I think there's just two things we're responsible for in this practice. Throughout each day, ask yourself if you're being true to your deepest intentions. Are you still in your car? And if you're not, do something about it immediately, as best you're able. Don't feel bad, just do something. Moffat closes it with this. The outcome of your inquiry and effort may seem modest at first, but be assured, each time you start over by reconnecting to your intention, you are taking one more step toward finding your own authenticity and freedom. In that moment, you're remembering yourself,
and grounding your life in your heart's intention. You are living the noble life of the Buddha's teaching. May it be so for all of us. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Jim. That's very nice. And living with intention. We're going to discuss this more with Jim. At 11 o'clock, we're going to have a hybrid talk back in the gathering room where folks at home can join via Zoom and join the conversation, and we can live live here and join the conversation. We'll see how this works. So, the closing words. We extinguish this flame, but not its meaning and mission in our hearts. Our time together has come to an end. Go in peace, be of service to one another, and may you move through this world in love for all your days.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you're on our email list, there is a Zoom link where we'll have a discussion with Jim and people here and people on Zoom. So if you're interested in joining that, check out that link in that email. And if you're just visiting us, thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't planning on what I was going to say. But thank you. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.